So good afternoon, Raj and DK. This is obviously the audience doesn't need to be told about your work. They're all fans of all the shows we've seen on the AV. Just to jump right into the OTT space, that conversation is secret sauce. So when OTTs began in India, when the writers' rooms began, there was a certain level of cluelessness, to all these shows. People didn't know exactly what they were trying to do. But your content has come out quite fully formed. It's almost as if you were waiting for this sort of a structure. So tell us a bit about that.
No, we were as clueless. We were Googling what is a Bible, what is a show Bible, how many episodes. So we were looking to ask someone to say, how many episodes is a good one, and how do you structure an episode? We had made films by then, but we had no clue. It's like reinventing the wheel. We just knew that we were as well versed as audience would be. Like we watched some shows, that was our expertise, I guess. But that's why we took a while. We actually dropped a couple of films to make our first show because we kind of knew the potential of making a good series or getting into the world of series, because we were waiting for it in a way, because we knew we were excited about the long format. So we gave up a couple of films that we were supposed to direct and really wrote it. The Family Man season 1 we wrote for a very long time, right?
Probably a year plus, and or even more, maybe a couple of years. It was, I think, a couple of years it took. Yeah, to add to that, I mean, when we made our first film, when we got into films, of course, we didn't go to film school. We didn't have any formal training. We were software engineers who got into films. So we have said in the past that we reverse engineered films. So we watched films, understood why certain films work, and what is it that we like about it, and what is it that people like about it, and somehow, found a hack, so to speak, to reverse engineer a film, and ended up making our films. I think we restarted that process when it came to series all over again, except maybe with the training we had in making films, it was a little faster, but...
We actually did a lot of flowcharts. That was our engineering contribution to filmmaking, and especially series, because we didn't go for a simple series like an investigative series or a thriller. You could have gone for something linear or something, I don't know, something you could put your hands around. We went for a very thick plot with a lot of subplots, a lot of characters, a lot of graphs for each character. So we had to figure our own tools as to how do we even see this whole show as one story for 10 episodes. So we had to come up with hacks and tricks, color-coded cards, and different tree diagrams and stuff like that, so that we knew where we were going with each character and each storyline.
Right. And since you guys are writer-directors, and writing is a very important part of the process, was it... liberating this sort of long-form storytelling? I mean, I'm sure it's hard. It's a different process, and we'll talk about that. But it must have also been exciting as writers to be able to delve into these subplots and give them the time that you couldn't probably give them in a film.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest payoff or satisfaction, I would say, from making a series, is that for writers and for actors as well, this is true, because an actor like Manoj Bajpayee playing the character Shrikant Tiwari gets to fully live that character and explore the character in every environment, at home, at work, at school, everywhere. And so you can't trick the audience with a few broad strokes anymore and be done in 1.5 hours or 2 hours, right? They have to stay with you for 8 hours, 10 hours. And so that was one of the first things we loved about writing a series. And it's a lot of work. Like you said, it's probably like writing 3 or 4 film scripts. Right. Writing one series is that. The amount of plot points, just the number of pages, sheer pages of writing. It's a lot. But yes, you do get to say everything you want to say, get into all the nuances that you may not find time to when you're writing for a film.
It's like a very liberating experience in that sense for a filmmaker, because there are so many constraints otherwise in other formats where you need an interval bang, you need music, you need song and dances. You have only one scene to set up a character. A lot of other guys, that's why people always say, the cardboard characters, some of them, because you're really focusing on the protagonist and antagonist, and everybody else is just, props. So here you're actually putting together well-rounded characters and very you have time to do a really solid. It's a really solid way of storytelling, is what I think it is. Like for a filmmaker, I can't think of a better medium than a long format series.
Sure. And just in terms of like when you say you reverse engineer, you look at the films you like and see what made them work. In that sense, what are the shows that have inspired you guys? What are the real shows and storytellers that have, that you reverse engineered from?
I think our reverse engineering started with films more than series. Films is when we were sitting in America, we had a shitty camcorder and really two bad actors who's filming each other and saying, okay, you act like this, we act like this. And we even had one crappy ass VCR decks in those days when we first started, when we were still engineers, where we used to play the tape in one and pause in the other one, record it, and then go to the next shot and record it. So that was our edit, the way to edit. Of course, every time somebody talks, there is a second, and then you talk. Second, we talk. So we used to do that to replicate a scene, let's say. Not even replicate a scene, we see one. Of course, we didn't pick a small scene. We'll pick one Martin Scorsese scene and say, okay, I want to do that kind of a scene. But we have these two guys, right? So we shoot and edit. But we were learning how to do it and realize how come our product is so shitty compared to what was there. So what do I need now? I need better production design, better lighting. What is it that is lacking? So that was our reverse engineering process as to how do I make a shot of a film or a scene without going to a film school or without assisting anyone and just teaching ourselves. That's what we carried on, looking at it and saying, how come we can't do that? And what is needed? What are the ingredients to make a scene a good scene?
And in terms of the writing itself, when you look at film, there's a pretty straightforward way to do film, or at least that we've gotten used to now. There is a beginning, middle, end, and in Hindi cinema, there's an interval point for which you need to ramp up the drama and then start all over again. In the series, do you feel similar? Do you feel the need to make the ends particularly sticky so that they click on the next episode? How does all of that work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it becomes even more prominent in a series because now you have, say, 8 episodes. Theoretically, every episode should have a beginning, middle, and an end. Correct? Every episode needs a climax as well. It's not, there are some comedy shows, like sitcom-ish shows that just flow without much of an arc, but otherwise, the series we are talking about, they always have a similar structure to a film, except in that 45-minute timeline. They have a beginning, middle, and an end for each episode, and typically what everybody likes to refer to as some kind of a hook that makes you want to watch the next episode and not stop it once the episode ends, right? So that becomes an important point. It doesn't have to be an obvious hook, but some kind of a story thing that leaves you wanting for more so that you're forced to watch the next one. That's kind of like the industry thing, right? Everybody wants it. And the whole season needs to have its own beginning, middle, and end as well. So it's like a series of films making a larger film, right? That's how we would start looking at it.
See, we actually devised our own structure for an episode. Instead of going for I don't know how many are filmmaking students here. Do you care for a structure of an episode, or should we just talk about jokes? So we created our own, where we made a 5-act, like a 5-part episode. We make episode into 5 parts. Okay. That's our secret, whatever. We have a prologue where we have a setup. That's a theme of the episode. Usually comes in the first scene or sequence. That's a theme. In our heads, that is the theme we are kind of going for. Then we have Act 1 where we set up all the characters or where the plot is going to go in that episode. Act 2 is your typical Act 2. After that, we have so prologue is Act 0, Act 1, Act 2. Act 3 is when everything ramps up. We also have a Act 5, which is where things resolve, but the new problem arises in a way. So when we do this clear-cut 5 parts, we know how well your episode is going. And sometimes we go with another analogy of a clothesline. That when we don't know where the hell is Act 1 is ending, Act 2 is ending, we are only confused because the story is flowing, but we don't care to see which act we are in. The other idea we usually use, I don't know if we talk about it anymore, but is a clothesline. So a rope that is tied from end to end sags, right? So whenever it's starting to sag, you pin it up, you pin it up, you pin it up. So every time it's taut and it doesn't drop too much. So that's another way of doing an episode is that you kind of pull it up every few minutes.
Right, nice.
And so yeah, different times we it's almost like we retrofit an analogy, saying okay, these acts are not working. Let's do maybe this is working because of the clothesline.
Right.
Yeah, and yeah, another thing I want to add was like when we build the episodes, not maybe everybody doesn't do this anymore, and you can see a lot of shows where it doesn't do, but we tend to do is we have a theme for the episode, so we try to stick to that, which is why most of our shows also have a chapter title, which is like so. If there are multiple storylines, multiple plot points, multiple tracks happening, we kind of make sure that everybody fits into that theme.
Sure.
So there is a certain third episode scene that happens for everybody, or a certain second episode scene that happens, and if you interchange it, the theme might go awry. So that's one other thing we like to do as well.
Right.
Like have a
Keep
chapter title.
consistency
Huh?
because of the chapter titles.
Yeah.
Right. But also thematically, when it comes to subjects, when you guys have made movies, you've shown this fondness for mixing genres, constantly. There's a zombie film which is also a comedy. There's a cricket match fixing comedy which has also got a deep, marriage subplot. So there's always these ideas at work. So when you're doing a series, are these ideas also getting a lot more interplay?
Yeah, I mean, genre play has always been our organic way of making any story. So when people used to ask earlier, we didn't know how to say it. When people say, what is three? We don't know how to say it. It's not just a horror comedy for me because it's thematically it's quite deep, but it can say a lot of things. And then we love to do the horror and comedy sometimes, action and comedy, romance and comedy, meta and whatever. So it's always been that. Let's make a story, whatever it is, where Shore in the City is one of my favorite examples because it switches so rapidly between genres that you're scared for a second, you're feeling for a second, emotional, funny. It's just all kinds in it. So for it same thing happens in our series as well because there is a little more time for it. The Family Man looks like a serious film, award-winning series kind of a feel to it, but there is a lot of silliness in a fun way.
Right.
The
Maybe
banter,
lighter moments.
the lighter moments. There's a lot of chutiapa in it in between times of between the guy and the buddies and all that, and the kid. There's a lot of family angle.
Sure.
So all kinds of things happen. Guns and Gulabs is just freewheeling craziness,
Right.
just freewheeling. There's really no greater good they're going for. Not saving the nation, nor are they screwing up the economy by printing fake notes. But it's just free flowing, fun genre mix. So yeah.
So to start with Family Man, let's talk about where the subject came from. What was the basic germ of,
Well, it's our take on James Bond, correct? Right. So
if James Bond got stuck in traffic and wasn't paid very well.
and originally we thought it's a James Bond minus all the gadgetry, all the cool suits, all the cool hanging out in casinos and shit, and driving a Bajaj Chetak. That's where, and we kind of upgraded him to a Santro or something.
Santro,
Yeah,
right.
but
But yeah, he was our. We thought if we do a spy series, our Indian spy possibly cannot be so cool. But there is so much coolness in Shrikant Tiwari anyway that comes from being so grounded. But that was the idea that, a vada pav eating, who needs a home loan, who has kids to take care of, a wife the marriage is kind of falling apart, going in local trains, listening to people talk a shit about his own job, right? He's standing at the vada pav and the guy is saying, I don't know what these NIA guys do. How can they can't stop a small attack. What are they going to do saving the nation? They would have just saved a big attack. So it was that satire that came in automatically when we started taking out all the frills of the cool spy, the slow motions, the suits, the herogiri. When we stripped everything off, suddenly you had this very exciting character and a premise. And then it was all, it just flowed after that.
yeah, and we also kind of I think deliberately as we were ideating all these things, we didn't want that hero to be the hero who's part of every solution. So if you notice in Family Man 1, there are so many important sequences, actiony sequences that happen that doesn't have Shrikant Tiwari in it, even though he's the protagonist. So it's just to say that there is a team at work. There are a lot of characters at work. It's not the hero saving the day at the end of the day every single time.
Yeah, and we got to break some rules in the Family Man, quite a few. I feel one of them, as DK was saying, if you look at the climax of the season 1, they have to stop. In Kashmir, they stop this entire chemical is coming in by Musa and all that. He's not there. It's the other guy who kind of saves the day.
Sure.
The climax ends with this guy going to the factory and getting trapped. So it's really not the hero trying to save every single time. So we get to do that.
Right.
And because nobody's saying anything. There is nobody saying that, no, we need this hero to do all this stuff. So it's just, that's why it's liberating that the story can be told in a different angle with a different lens.
Sure. And were you surprised by just how much of a success Family Man became?
Not at all. Not at all. Of course we were.
Of course, yeah, we were like no idea, man. We had no idea what it was going to do. We were making it, and internally we were all liking what we were watching. And the Amazon team, when they watched it, they also loved it, and they said, "Oh, this is amazing! This is amazing!" So much that they even greenlit season 2. In hindsight, that was a bad idea because we got paid the same monies. We never asked for more money or anything. And, and we were in the middle of shooting season 2 when season 1 released. And then it became a big hit. And we were like, oh, wait a minute. Sheesh, now season 2 has to match up to that.
Sure.
And we were halfway through shoot, right? So we had no idea. We had no idea where it was going to go.
It's also, whenever somebody asks you, I want to watch something tonight, your recommendation usually is a series. You don't say, hey, this film is good. Usually it's always a series.
Right.
But that I've been seeing for the last, 8 years, 10 years. So we knew the value of series, but we experienced it with The Family Man.
Right.
Because we were just coming off of success of Stree. And Stree was our blockbuster, right? First time we're getting this 100 crore award.
Exactly.
100 crore club and all that. We were like, really, we're that mainstream, so we're getting these awards, and then you realize it's so big. But The Family Man, the widespread nature of how far it reached, how much it is loved, I realized a series had. It's kind of.
I think it goes deeper. It goes deeper into people's lives, into households. They talk more about it. Like right now, if people meet us, they're asking us more than asking us about Stree. They're asking us about Family Man.
Right.
Correct? Because I think a lot more people have watched it, and also the amount of time you spend with, right? Like a series, you spend about 8 hours, 9 hours with it, and you love the characters. They become a part of your family.
Absolutely.
A film is still a 2-hour experience. You love it, enjoy it. You might watch
You're
it
in and out of it.
Yeah.
But this lingers on. And also there is always the promise of continuation, right? Unless it's a mini series, you're always thinking you're going to see more seasons with these people. So your investment in them is more.
Yeah.
But because you said 100 crore club, Raj, how do you judge as successful OTT showmakers? How do you judge success on the streaming platforms? What are the parameters for that?
I'm not getting into the numbers that the platform provides or doesn't provide, and they kind of tell you, by the way, it has the highest footfall. Like Farzi, for example, became the most watched show of all time. Somebody put up the metrics. We also didn't know till somebody put it up and saying, oh, really? So cool. But beyond that, it is the love that you experience. It's the original way when movies were hit. Movies were successful before box office numbers came in 20 years ago or whatever, 15 years ago. Before that, it was really how much you meet a person or they say how much they love and how much of the word of mouth has spread. You gauge it, right? Earlier, there were no numbers. Who knew what the numbers of Sholay were? Forget Sholay, even
a Hum Aapke Hair count time, I think it was just playing and playing in theaters, and more and more people were watching. And at some point, you're like, it's been playing for 100 days, so
Yeah, it becomes a phenomenon because of the word of mouth.
Yeah.
So in that case, would it be fair to say that for current metric, like memes are a big part of that, to see how much it infiltrates pop culture? Because Shrikant Tiwari has, Shahid has, the Farzi memes are all over the place.
Yeah, no, for us, I think the big thing for me happened was, people, internet, and then the government of India, like the Department of Education and the Department of Transport, the Mumbai police, Delhi police, they started putting out memes with Shrikant Tiwari. Then I'm like, wow, if the government is taking note, that means it's really gone deep.
I mean, he is a government servant, so they're
Right.
claiming him as one of their own.
Even traffic police, I saw Chellam sir telling people how to wear helmet and stuff. So memes are,
Right.
tweets are.
And that's organic. Right?
Really.
People are doing it because they're connecting with the characters, and the
Correct.
characters are becoming a shorthand
Yeah.
for a certain expression, a certain
Yeah,
mood, a
and,
certain
and then
time.
people start writing articles. They are not reviews anymore. They're not reviews. They're not talking about the performance of the show, but they start talking about a certain aspect of it. Or what is the difference? There was one article I read like long time back. What is the difference between Musa and Sajid? There was one in-depth analysis of these two characters. That's it. So that shows how far, how deep it has gone. That somebody watched the show. For everything else, every other review aside, they decided, okay, here is one bad guy Musa, here is one bad guy Sajid, and why and how are they different? Somebody wrote, you know.
Yeah, and also other fields. I saw someone write about mental health, and they quoted the Family Man scenes and stuff like that. So you kind of you gauge it easily. As soon as a movie releases, sees a show releases, within 2-3 days you'll start. Of course, it starts off in Twitter, and then goes on to wherever you go, talk. You see that. That's the only way to gauge it for me.
Sure. And that led you to make these creative choices. I think in the second season, so much of The Family Man is not in Hindi. Were you afraid of that? Because I think the big credit for Family Man for me is the fact that you got India to read subtitles. Really, like pan India, everyone was reading subtitles, English subtitles, and understanding the show.
Yeah, the first season itself starts with a Malayalam scene, right? So that was one of the first things, one of the first feedbacks we got from the studio also, like, great, everything good, but do you want to reconsider this and do you want to have them speak in Hindi? I'm like, no, guys, it's a 2-minute scene, 3-minute scene. People are going to read subtitles. It's okay. And
Yeah.
sorry. So we stuck with it. And of course, people didn't complain about it. So in season 2, the first sequence is about like 8 or 9 minutes with subtitles. So we stretch it a little bit.
Right.
That was again one of the liberating experiences. Was that for us? It was you could cast any actor in India. Suddenly we saw like actors everywhere, right? So we can cast them from any region in India. It's the only country that has so many cultures and so many languages and so many film industries that we could easily go to anybody and have them in the show and speak their language. Nobody was forced to do any other language. So we thought, why not? I mean, this is a great medium to do. So we started, it became a thing. We really, every time we make something new, we're not looking at just Hindi film industry. We're looking at any actor that will fit the role. That was the liberating. I used to call it, at that time it was pan-India casting.
Right.
Is what it was.
Now, the humor has always been a part of your cinema. What strikes me as surprising in terms of the series that you've done is that there are these single take action sequences. That's become a bit of a trademark, right, for you guys. And that is that's a directorial flourish for sure, but it's also giving audiences something they're not experienced in terms of television. So tell us a little bit about that, about how important that is to the way you conceive, say, a set piece.
Yeah, when we wrote the screenplay and we had all these set pieces, I don't think Family Man season 1, I don't think we envisioned it as a single shot sequence yet. But at some point during the shoot, when we're shooting the scenes, when it came to the action sequence that we were supposed to shoot, that's where I think we were thinking, what do we do that's going to make this special, something that's exciting, that's challenging. And suddenly we decided that we should do it as a single take action sequence. Also, it's not just like a gimmick, not like, okay, we do it in single shot and everybody will be blown away. It was not that idea. The idea for us was when you do a single shot sequence, the camera stays in one place with one character. Of course, it can switch to another character, but it stays there. So what it takes away from a typical action sequence is in an action sequence, what happens? The camera shows this guy is coming here, that guy is coming there, another guy is waiting there. So you see all aspects of it. So in a way, the audience knows more than the characters in the scene. There's a guy who's about to enter a room and you show a shot of another guy waiting inside a room. So the audience knows there's a guy waiting there, but the character doesn't know. But in a single shot sequence, it kind of puts you there in first person, more than just the camera itself. Even in terms of the knowledge, it puts you there. If the guy is going to open a door, he doesn't know what's waiting on the other side, neither does the audience. So that made it very exciting. So we first shot one sequence like that, and there was an accident in that middle of that sequence. In episode 4, there's a sequence in a Omni where these guys are driving and suddenly they see that it's an ambush and cops are there, and it's a single shot sequence. And we shot about half of it, and then the Omni fell over and people got injured and we stopped it. But we knew that we were onto something here. So of course, we came back
No.
and shot it, and we shot another one as well.
Yeah, the genesis of a single shot for us, we didn't have, like I said, there was no plan to make a single shot. But in the Family Man season 1, we realized that this guy is escaping. The students who are mistaken as terror suspects are escaping. So when they get into the van and start driving away, we realized, why don't we stay with them? That was the idea. Why don't we just stay with them? And they're feeling trapped, they're feeling chased, they don't know what's going to happen, they're all scared.
You want to keep it
So I said,
claustrophobic.
why don't we be there? That was that was the idea. And suddenly after we sat with the choreographer, and he had so many shots laid out, and we said, no, none of that. The cameraman stays with the guy. That was it. So as we went, we said, let's extend it a little more. Let's extend it a little more. Let's get off with him, run with him, hide with him. So it just gave us such an exciting way of shooting an action sequence that you didn't need production values, you didn't need blasts and crazy stunts. The emotion made it so much more stronger that is when we got the taste of it, and now we were
Now that's
designing
become
more
a
of
signature.
it.
Yeah. And we just had fun shooting it, right? And it became like once it's done, and once it went in the edit and it came out, now it became like we are so cool, we shot a single shot sequence kind of a thing, right?
Sure.
And then when the show came out, everybody started writing about it, loving it, and we said, okay, so this is going to be the motif of Family Man. So we went and had to do it again in season 2, and this time we'll do the climax of season 2 as a single shot sequence. Yeah.
2 minutes. You know, you have your protagonists are always very relatable. I think that's something you work on, from, Shrikant or even the Shahid character. The protagonist is actually possibly having the least fun in terms of the other characters. He's the straighter one, while, like in Guns and Gulabs, for example, the Rajkumar Rao character is very, straightforward and a simple character to understand. Whereas you also have in the same show, you have Gulshan Devaiya's character, who seems to be on a different frame rate and doing different things. So this blend of quirk and relatability, is it like you're trying to, under the relatable skin, push in a lot of crazy things?
Right, that's it. That is the answer.
I know.
Yeah,
The question is the answer, I think.
But yeah, it is about relating a lot. A middle class guy, a middle class husband, father, who can be this cool spy is what the idea is. You relate to the Family Man so much that in fact, there are more people who love the family angles than the plot, because the plot you've seen in different ways.
Sure.
Same way, Shahid represents the other end of middle class strata, where you're not given the due. You don't feel your identity. You don't have an identity. You have a talent in you, but it's not respected. And he feels system has kind of cheated him, or he needs to beat the system to win the system. So everything is that. Same thing in with Rajkumar Rao in Guns and Gulabs. He's an ordinary mechanic who wants to become the best mechanic and get this girl. That's it. So people relate. You can relate to that simplistic way of life, and he's forced to become something he's not, and he has to live up to it. So that's the best part of it.
Right.
Yeah, and we
It
are
is a
middle class.
quirk carrier. When you create a character, a simple guy, and put him in extraordinary circumstances, it automatically becomes quite crazy and quirky.
Sure. Okay, I'm going to open the floor to the audience, but before that, one last question. Like, both of you write, both of you direct, both of you produce, both of you, are idea men as well. So where is the line drawn? Who is who in this Sachin Sehwag partnership?
We're all over the place. I think we just start off, and usually we have Sita Menon also there. She's written. Sita, can you stand up?
Yes, let's
She's
have a hand for
written,
Sita Menon, please. Sita has
she's
always written all the...
Farzi, Cyrodiil India, 99, Go Gone,
Shore in the City.
Shore in the City. So, yeah, it's three of us who started off this journey, and you were there in bits and parts. But it's all over the place. It's really, we distribute our job all any which way, right? We pick up.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's a clear-cut demarcation. It's more like you said, when Kohli and say KL Rahul are playing, you don't know who's going to reach the century first.
Right.
Like, you're hitting your shots, Kohli is supporting, and then KL Rahul needs rest and Kohli
I
starts
like how
going
you
in.
updated things for a new generation. Nicely done, nicely done.
He used to
That's
stay
a
with
pro
Sach.
move.
He used to stay at Sachin Sehwag. He's updated.
No, but in
himself.
Sachin Sehwag, I think there was
wants to
always
be
a clear.
current.
There was always a clear one person ahead. That's why these
fair
days
enough.
you don't know which one is gonna, like, he's 36 and 44 balls and he's 36 and 38 balls, and you don't know who's gonna reach the century.
Right. Okay, I shall open up the floor to questions. Anybody want to ask Raj and DK something?
Hi, really big fan of your work. So, to start off, it's a two-part question, not to take a lot of your time. So, for example, when we saw the movies 3, um, you know, towards the ending, it sort of felt like, it's going to be the end and there might not be a part 2. But in the ending, when there's that slight abrupt twist of events, so do you guys plan that at the start, or is it like just something that comes off towards the end where you feel like, no, there's something more to the story and there's something more that might require another 2.5 hours of the audience's attention? Like, what's your thought process over there as a writer?
No, I mean, we've ever since we started making films since '99, I guess, or before, we never really liked the completely tied up endings. Like, we kind of always wanted to be a little more lifelike, maybe that it's not like everybody goes home and there is a the end card. In Telugu, we used to call it Shubham card. At the end, everybody stands there and it's over. It's never over. So we kind of like the idea of leaving things a little bit open. Never about a sequel. We're not even sequel kind of guys in a way. We never really made a sequel to any of our films. So it is that. It is about being that. We were also against a hero being a complete hero that everybody worships him and he can do no wrong. He can only do the best. So most of our heroes are slight losers, including Shrikant Tiwari, including Rajkumar Rao, including Shahid, even 99, Go Go Gone. They're really not hero material. They're forced to rise up. So never really liked that perfect protagonist. Never really liked the perfect ending. That's it.
Yeah, I
There's
think
no-
that's true for all our films, actually. If you think about it, every film, just when you think the problem is done, there is a new thing that comes up. Like if you start thinking about every film, there is no clear cut problem is done, the end, and everything's over. The idea is saying the movie is over, but I don't know, maybe the characters' lives are not over yet. There's something else that's going to come. Maybe there's a sequel, there isn't a sequel. We never thought that far, but yeah.
And like, since you've been in this industry for more than 2 decades, and you've,
Really?
yeah, I think so, approximately.
14 years. 14
One and a half. Yeah, so there might have been times where you faced a lot of writer block, where you don't know what next, and where you don't know, where to take the story ahead. So since we have a lot of upcoming filmmakers and writers in the audience, what's something that you would suggest or something that you would like to portray as a motivation to the audience ahead?
Okay, let me think of the one that comes use for me is the homework we had done in our lives. It's not about the screenplay I'm writing right now. It's all the homework I've done over years. I was diligent in putting down my ideas. That's what I did. That's the one big I'm proud of that fact. When I wasn't even a filmmaker, I used to write down in books and in laptops, just organize those thoughts over and over again. That whenever I want to start a new story and I don't know what to write, I just start reading all my ideas that can be anything and anywhere. And that's usually gives some idea somewhere to start off. It could be a randomly different genre, but I just liked, and also an organized way of collecting those thoughts, because once you write in books, they're gone. You're never going to open the book and start reading it. So I used to spend a lot of time just organizing those ideas into various brackets that I could actually go up and say, I need a good action sequence and I don't want to do the same thing. What do I do? So go back and look at my notes. So
Right. Anybody else?
So I guess you follow a very mechanical process to the writing. So do you ever feel like you're losing the soul of the film while you're writing, trying to fit things into perfect acts and structures?
No, I don't think they're both two separate things. I mean, you cannot be this mad artist who just takes a canvas and paints and say this is my masterpiece. It doesn't work that way, right? You can have mad ideas, you can have crazy ideas, but for it to form into a film, you definitely at this point it becomes mechanical because they need to tie into one crazy idea needs to flow into the next crazy idea. So you need a structure. So you need to have logic. You need to have a flow that works. So it's an inherent process of making writing a screenplay or writing a film. I would say it's not one random joke that came to your mind that you're putting in there, right? For that joke to work, you need to have all the characters and the situations and everything leading up to it. Only then it's gonna work.
Yeah, like Go Go Gone. A lot of people used to say when they watched the film and they found it hilarious, they used to say, "What were you smoking?" Right? You guys must have been so smoked up to write Go Go Gone.
And Raja knows that we never smoke up.
My point is, we wrote it very sober. Only if you are writing it with a very clear head and an organized way, can you create an organized chaos at the end of it. So even if it is crazy, there's a thought behind that crazy scene. So this random writing and let us see what happens rarely works unless, I don't know, maybe a genius.
No, and screenplay in general, when you look at films or television, I mean, structure is not taking away from the soul. It's just shaping everything,
Yeah.
putting it in place.
Yeah, and it's important. I mean, you could have a movie with great scenes that just doesn't come together, which means somebody was doped up and got great ideas, but never was sober enough to put it in a line.
So I just wanted to ask you, since all the movies that you've made so far, it is always the male protagonist somewhere very highlighted. Can we expect a female protagonist who is also into like such crazy tragedy and chaos happening? Like, do we think
I mean,
of it in
they wrote
future?
Spree. They wrote Spree.
Yeah,
so,
3 years like
Yeah.
horror comedy, but then something related to maybe like a spy, like you have in The Gentleman and The Family Man. So
The Family
are
Man.
we expecting that? Because that would be a huge.
Two parts to this question, right? Two answers, two bit answers. One is Citadel, the Indian spin-off that we are doing, has, of course, that's Varun Dhawan and Samantha. And I leave it up to you who you would consider the protagonist because they're both extremely strong protagonist roles in that sense. And in Family Man Season 2, the antagonist,
Yes.
in a lot of places overshadows the protagonist. And of course, that's a female character again, played by Samantha, right? So, no, we love to write strong female characters as well.
We've always, if you look at all our films, right, since Shore in the City and wherever it is, even in '99, everything, even though it was a male film, like a guy film and all that, I always felt like all the feedback, whatever people get and all that stuff, we always knew that we were well-rounded female characters. Of course, we didn't write earlier female-driven stories because we wrote what we know. But yeah, I think upcoming stuff, Sita is not letting us put any male protagonists anymore. So, so we got a lot coming up and we're loving it. We're loving this whole idea because we discover, first we were doing young heroes, right? Young heroes and only have so much baggage. They're not so complicated. They were simple. So Go Go Gone 99, they were very young guys. And when we discovered The Family Man, you could discover so much more story to write with an older character. So similarly, when we start like Citadel India, like DK said, is really about a female spy.
Also, are we expecting Go Go Gone 2? Because that is one of my favorite movies. Like anything related to that.
You guys really want Go Go Gone 2? Really?
I mean, if the audience is up for it, I don't think because
You think a sequel is going to be better than the original?
Of course, it will.
Tell me an example.
See, it was a very fresh and new concept. I wouldn't combine zombies and comedy at the same time. We have seen a lot of zombie apocalypse movies and stuff like that. We have a lot of these Hollywood movies. So when you came up with such a fresh idea and it is related to the youngsters and all of them are relating to it, and these guys are having the ordinary life. Just one fine day something happens and they're all stranded in an island and a lot of chaos, right? So I just know that it does not have a very complete ending. So there has to be something related
I'm not
to
trying to diss the idea. I'm just trying to understand better. That's why I come to these events and talk about it so I can listen from you guys. This is the only time we can have an interaction and understand what's what makes you tick and what is it that you're looking for. I would love it. But it's just that when you said two words, fresh and exciting,
Yeah.
for Go Go Gone.
Yeah.
So if I make it now, it won't be fresh and exciting. But I can try on the exciting word. I can work on the exciting part and make a very exciting sequel. So would love to do it for sure. But there's also so many
Also,
worlds.
I think rather than looking at it as a sequel, the way we have looked at Go Go Gone is that what was it that you all loved in Go Go Gone was like you said, fresh concept that was funny and exciting and new, and we did three, which in a lot of ways is a ideological sequel for Go Go Gone, even though it's not the sequel. So we would call it, maybe it's part of a trilogy, and the next one we would make would maybe remind you or give you the same sensation that Go Go Gone gave. It may or may not be the sequel of it, but the idea would be to make you feel how you felt when you watched Go Go Gone, the same trippy vibe or the same fresh vibe or anything. And but maybe it's not a sequel, maybe it's an ideological sequel.
Thank you so
Yeah,
much.
it's a very
guys.
philosophical.
Did we complicate the hell out of it now?
Yeah, we complicated the hell of a sequel concept. We made it so philosophical that we took Go Go Gone.
You made it an 8
Part
episode
2 is
answer.
3.
No, but thank you so much for answering the questions.
All right, brilliant. Thank you all so much for coming here and asking Raj and DK questions. And I hope you're all looking forward to Citadel as well as Family Man Season 3.
Citadel India. Citadel India.
Citadel India. Yes, Citadel India. Yes, we're not confused. I'm sure no one will be confused with your show and the others. There is a plaque to be presented to you guys, and I think it's being brought on stage now.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thank you so much, guys. We also have a special plaque that we'd like to give to our wonderful guest today. Thank you, Raja. Kindly do the honors. Once again, guys, a huge round of applause for the hit machine, Raj and DK.